Hi everyone, I'm Tarina Frank from Houston Center for Contemporary Craft. I'm the Education and Programs Manager, and I want to welcome all of you to our very first live demo of our HOH To Go. So I'm here in Hillerbrand+Magsamen studio at in their artist residency program. They are going to be doing a nice live demo of the Hands on Houston kits that you guys can follow along with or do later. And I just want to remind you guys that next month we're going to have some quilting squares for Hands on Houston, and we're also going to do a live demo with artist Joy Udi.
There we go. That's us.
Hi
everybody.
We're Hillerbrand+Magsamen. I'm Mary.
And I'm Stefan Hillerbrand, and we're a collaborative team. We work together as visual artists, and we're so excited to be doing Hands on Houston in this demo for everybody. And what our practice is that we usually do things centered around our house and our home and our children and ourselves. And here we're doing a joint residency with
the Houston Center for Photography and Houston Center for Contemporary Craft. So we've been kind of exploring all these different ways that we merge photography and sculpture and interdisciplinary practice. And one of the things we've been exploring while we're here at the Center for Contemporary Craft is creating these objects. So we've been making objects out of our kids' old toys, because our kids are old now. They're like 18 and almost 15. And so we've been taking these objects and making objects and then photographing them and then going in and sewing into images and changing things around.
old Nerf bullets that we found underneath the couch, zip ties from Home Depot, colored plates from Target and Walmart, and they're turning out to be these crazy, we call them science experiments or biological organisms. And then we're taking them and we're putting them down on a cyanotype, which we're going to be doing today, and seeing what kind of the results that we get.
Here's another one that's like has some kind of molecular balls on it.
And so what happens, put that up, is these are small 8x10 sheets of paper.
These were just tests that we had been kind of playing with.
Ooh, very nice. So we wanted to show a little bit, give a little bit of background, historical background, and about the cyanotype process before we go behind the table here. Oops, I turned to my head. And Mary, you want to go over?
Yeah, so let me, guys. So what I'm going to do is share the screen and pull up a little PowerPoint that we made for you about cyanotype. So give me 1 second.
There it is, cyanotype, wonderful. Oh, you have to click on that. There we go, perfect.
Okay. So, so the word cyanotype comes from a Greek name meaning dark blue impression, and it's a chemical reduction of two chemicals coming together to create this beautiful blue that you see.
And what does the word cyan means?
It means dark blue impression.
Oh, impression, and that's really a cool word because that's what we're going to be doing right now with the demo.
Yeah. And so to give you a little historical background, it was invented by an astronomer and a chemist named John Frederick Williams Henschel. He was British. What he did was he published a paper called On the Action of the Rays of the Solar Spectrum on Vegetable Colors and Some New Photographic Processes.
We needed a drum roll for that. What a crazy kind of announcement for this invention.
That was in 1842, right. So quite a long time ago. Here's like a more detailed historical timeline if you're interested. And so after Herschel invented the cyanotype, an English botanist named Anna Atkins was using this process to make contact printed cyanotype photograms from dried algae specimens.
Crazy. I mean, that's so nuts. She wanted a cheap, inexpensive way to document sea algae, and then she found this thing called cyanotypes. Weird. It's so funny. We always do this. We always go back and forth and interrupt. But so what cyanotype is for ever since it was invented, it's a very inexpensive, cheap way to do a photo reproduction. And one of the best examples here in this slide is during the Boer Wars, which I think occurred in Africa. They used it to actually make stamps, postage stamps. Very cool, fun fact.
So here's a little bit on how to do this process. What you do is, it's very simple. You make a design, and you can make design out of any object. So you can go through your house and find anything really. You kind of figure it out ahead of time. You're gonna place your what?
Keep going.
Oh, okay. You place your design on, down and figure out where it's going to go. Then you take your paper out, and it's photosensitive light paper. So if you take it out too early and expose it to light, then you're going to kind of ruin the paper. You need to be sure to take it out just when you're ready to expose it, because it starts working pretty quickly. And so then you would transfer your objects onto the cyanotype paper, and then put it on the sun. It happens to not be sunny today, but you could do this later when it's sunny, or you can also use a UV light, and it works very well.
And we're going to show you that today.
So, and then you let it sit out in the sun for like 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how dark you want your blue to be. And then you rinse it, because what you're going to do is you're going to rinse that chemical off. It's a non-toxic chemical. So you rinse it off, and then it takes a while for it to dry. And as it dries, the blue gets darker and darker and darker. So it's a very cool process. So we set up a table here for you to show you the exact process and go through the kit that you all got from Hands on Houston. And
there's a couple examples. Let's show them what.
Oh, right. Sorry. We have some examples. These are some examples of experiments that other artists have done. So these are some items that somebody made into a cyanotype from the Galveston shore.
You see the seaweed. You see some like can ties, bubble wrap,
bag or something.
Plastic bag.
This is by Peggy Hartzell. She used tissue paper, hornet's nest, and she drew on glass with a felt tip pen to create these. You can also play with the cyanotype. You can put some salt on it, and that changes the chemical reaction of it. You can also put things like vinegar or soap suds or coffee. You can try experimenting. It's a chemical process, so you can be little scientists and play around with putting different stuff on it. Oh, this is an image of Robert Rauschenberg, and he made these huge life-size cyanotypes. I can't see the date on it, but
that's all right. The next slide.
There we go. Okay, so this is what his cyanotypes look like. These life-size ones.
Yeah, life-size. So the figures went on light-sensitive cyanotype fabric, and they did kind of body shadows. So it's really, you can do as small or as big as you want.
This is by Christian Markley, and they were old cassette tapes. And he pulled
cassette tapes. Wait, Mary.
Ask your parents.
What's a cassette tape?
It has a magnetic tape rolled into it, and so he pulled out the magnetic tape and put that on the paper. And these are quite large, also, and did these really beautiful cyanotypes. Here's somebody made a dress, so you can print on fabric too. You can put these chemicals on anything really. and make different stuff. And we have an example of some fabrics.
That's the last slide, so
okay.
we can switch over.
Oh no, there's one more.
Oh.
This is Amelie Dietrich. That's a close-up of it. And here you can see she sews into it, which is something that we really enjoy doing too. We like to print stuff and then we sew into it or we paint on it and kind of change things as after we've done it. So it's not just one thing. I think that's the last one, yes.
That's the last slide.
Okay.
Yay! A little historical background. So we have all these wonderful kits. We're now back in kind of our demo area. Welcome, Mary, as we are. And here's this wonderful kit that the center put together, and it has the instructions, a couple sheets of the paper, some things to get you started with your mad scientist experiment. But we also just wanted to have here at the beginning of the kind of the process is that you can go to places like Amazon.com, or you can go to your local photography store. And as Mary said in that description, it's a very simple 2-chemical process. You can get these 2-part kits, and you can paint this on ceramics, on fabric, on bricks, on walls, whatever you want. It's not toxic, but it is light sensitive. So if you were to use this, you would have to do it in the dark. And then we have wonderful examples, which we got from Amazon. Pretty inexpensive. I mean, for 15...
So these have the chemicals on them already, which is what you got. You got pieces of paper that have been pre-treated, and so all you have to do is take it out and expose it to the light. But this one has fabric.
This is a swatches of fabric, and this is the paper. And what's would be really exciting is that if you get inspired after this demo and after this hands-on Houston wonderful thing is that you kept doing it. You would keep doing cyanotypes all summer long.
It's very addictive.
It's very
I'll warn you right now. So as I mentioned at the beginning, first thing you want to do is gather your materials. And so in your kit that you got, you received some yarn and some beads and looked like some little, this one has some little pine cones in it, and some paper. You can cut out shapes with paper if you want. You can just use objects. So what you want to do, like I said, is kind of figure out your what you want to make.
And
it's like sketching it out before you paint it, right? You want to sketch it before you paint it.
And this is the cool rule of thumb about cyanotypes. The more transparent, the more holes, or the more you can see through something, the more kind of surprises you'll get at the end of the process. So something as simple as a fly swatter, we think it's kind of an ordinary thing. It's stuck behind the laundry room door, but with all those beautiful holes and all of that wire, it could actually turn out to be very interesting. The light will go through. This isn't a funny plastic margarita glass, you know, something as simple as that, or the top of a Tupperware glass. These things will let a little bit of light through, again, revealing some really nice surprises. So run around the house, look at all the different things that you can find.
The other thing you can do is after you put it down on your paper, if you move it around and keep letting the sun expose it, it creates these very cool kind of like ghosted images, and has this feeling of motion to it. And so you can be very playful with how, you know, taking things by chance and moving stuff around or using transparent things. So in your kit, you have a piece of cardboard and you also have some tacks. And so the idea is to tack your light sensitive paper onto that after you've kind of figured out what your pattern's going to be.
So I'll let Mary as she said, it's a good thing to do a test first, lay things out maybe on the kitchen table or on the floor, or maybe the coffee table in the living room. Just something to have fun. Think of it like you're drawing or you're making a quick sketch. Nothing is precious. You can do make a couple versions of it. Because it's light sensitive, and we've said that a couple times, what you don't want to do is to kind of put the paper down, whether it's on the cardboard that the center has provided for you, or on a, we have a IKEA tray or a
coffee
tray.
Yeah, or like a baking sheet. That's
You don't want to start putting the stuff on it, because even the light coming in from the window, the light maybe that's leaking into the house will start to make the impressions already. So first do it without the paper.
So I'm gonna I think this string's really cool, and I'm gonna kind of make like a pattern with it really quickly. If I had more time, maybe I would cut it and stuff. Make it look like I'm making like a little garden landscape piece. So those are gonna be the stems of my flowers, and then I'm gonna use these beads that are in your kit. I'm gonna put them up above here. So if I show you, it would fall off, but you can kind of see see. Or I could also cut things out with the paper and lay them down.
Do that.
Why don't you cut some down?
I'm not even going to cut. I don't cut. I rip. So we're going to. I rip. I'm such a guy. Okay, I'm going to rip, and I'm going to make all crazy experiments. And then I'm going to mess up her design.
This is how we work in the studio.
There it is. Go grab your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your next door neighbor, your best friend, your dog, your cat. Rose something.
We've got some glitter, and that's really cool too, because you can put it down, and it looks like snow.
This may be hard to see, but one of the experiments we did is we took a plastic lid from I think it was a salsa cup, and then stuck some needles into it. This is fun. So everybody can see, and we put that on top because we were trying to make solar systems.
Okay, so let's say this is our design. Okay, we can put that in.
So what I'm going to do, Mary, do I have the okay to release the paper?
Take out your paper and
release the paper.
And put it on, use your tacks to tuck it onto there.
So I'm gonna, there it is. I'm gonna find my paper. I'm gonna grab my scissors. Oh, sorry. Working as a team is very good because you can tell good jokes to each other. So I'm going to grab one piece of paper, and if you've noticed, one side is blue, one side is white. The blue is where the two chemical emulsion is, or the light sensitive area. So that's what we're going to keep.
So we're going to do this. We do this pretty quick, right? So
I'm going to take these pins.
So I know what my design's going to be. So actually put it on here. So I'm going to redo my design.
I get to move down the line.
And I'll put my beads on here for my flowers.
I want to do this one.
Okay. And then I'm going to put my yarn. I'm not going to put paper on.
As Mary's doing that, I'm going
to change my design a little bit.
I mean, you can't change the design, can you?
Yes, I can.
In art, what? Yes, of course you can change the design. And again, we have 3 wonderful pieces of paper that have been supplied in your packet. So you got 3 chances. It's not a very expensive, artistic practice or hobby. You can get it at any local craft stores, Michael's, Texas Art Supply, Amazon.
So if it was sunny out, we would take this outside. But it's not. So we have a UV light, and so we're going to turn this on. And it probably doesn't look like much turned on because it's this
what's going on there?
Paper. But if you leave it on for 5 to 10 minutes, then it does work. So we did one.
Sorry to interrupt. Because it's raining today and because it's dark and we can't really go outside, we're using this UV light. And a UV light is, you can go to any Home Depot or Lowe's or a gardening store. They're a little on the expensive side, but they're those lights that you use for greenhouses or for growing plants. And it is a very concentrated spectrum of light that plants like, and specifically that this chemical reaction responds to the best.
So when we were getting ready, I tried one with this UV light because I've only done them with the sun, and I'll bring it around. It's really light because I didn't have it exposed long enough, but the longer you expose it, the darker blue it gets. And I put a bunch of rubber bands down, and then I also got this really cool pattern on here. It's kind of hard to see because it's not very dark, but there's a cool pattern because I put salt on top of it as it was drying, which created a chemical reaction. And the salt makes this like, almost like it looks like if we don't see as much in Houston, but if there's frost on the window, that's what it, maybe during the freeze, everybody saw that. But if there's like frost on the window, that's what the salt does to it. And so it's really fun to play around with trying to manipulate the chemical reaction on it.
And what's so fun about cyanotypes, as we've been talking about, is the first stage that we're doing right now of placing and being as creative and rummaging around the house and finding all these things that we can use. That's kind of the first process. The second process, as we said, is that you can notice a difference here. I'll show those up to the camera, that the longer that you expose this to the sunlight, or in this case, the UV lamp, the darker blue it'll get. And it can get so dark that it's almost kind of a rich cobalt blue black.
And then you can talk about going in and sewing into it.
Mm-hmm. Or if you want, you can just, because we were doing this with the UV light very quickly, it's a lighter pastel blue. And so you get to make a decision on
how dark, if you want like really dark blue, or if you want more like baby blue, whatever you want. So you can see the paper, if you could, I'm telling you, the paper is a little bit lighter. So I can tell that the light is working because I'm already seeing like a response to the light from the paper.
And that's a really wonderful thing. What is happening to the paper is it's actually becoming like kind of old school photography back in the days where pterodactyls were flying and we would power our cars with little hamsters and something, not really. We had film and we had negatives of that film to make a positive photograph. And so what's happening on the paper now is we're getting a kind of negative of what we're about to see, which will become a positive. So the areas that are not getting exposed by light are turning a dark blue, and the areas that will become dark blue are light. So it's going to be a reverse. So it's a very cool process again of kind of looking.
Try to rinse it?
Yeah, why don't we let me come back around.
Ideally, you would want to let this sit for a little longer, but in the interest of time, I'm going to take now my sheet off, and I'm going to, oh cool, that looks so cool. Yeah, show it to him before we rinse it, and then we'll. So it actually worked out really well. So
see that? See that? That's where that little silo salsa cup, here's all the things in there. Let me get out of the way of the light. Oh, that's a much better one. Look at that. Oh, that's exciting. But I don't want to hold it too much, right? Because I could actually start getting my fingerprints or my hands.
Well, it's still reacting to light. So you need to rinse those chemicals off to set it. Now, one thing you don't want to do is that you can rinse these off, like, and it's non-toxic, but you don't want to rub it because if you rub it,
I was rubbing it.
Yeah. If you rub it, then you can actually rub the emulsion off and ruin your cyanotype. So they're very, just be very gentle with it. You can run it under running water. We made it just for the demo purposes, a little bag here, just with our, casserole dish. But usually I like to just like run it underwater, and then you see all those chemicals start coming off. And then you've made your print. And then those colors will keep getting darker and darker as the day goes on. It takes like about probably 3 hours or so for it to totally set.
It's not toxic, that cyanotype, but you are putting your hands in a chemical.
Yeah, so wash your hands.
Wash your hands,
Don't eat your Cheetos.
Don't eat any Cheetos, don't pick your nose, don't do anything funny like that. Be sure to kind of, you don't need gloves to do it, but soap and water afterwards is a pretty good.
So you can see on there where this lid was and where the string was and where the glitter actually took over quite a lot. So.
And what we do at home, which is really a lot of fun, oh, come on over here so I'm not doing it. We place these on a nice paper towel and a cookie drying rack. And that's just perfect. You just keep that right in your kitchen and hold it up to see how cool it was. It's kind of a light cyan right now. But if we spend some more time, if we let this, if we had a typical Houston
you put that in the sun.
It would be a very dark blue. So, you know, maybe what we could do, you know, today's a wonderful day to be doing the demo. Maybe take 1 or 2 pieces of paper and try it out today as a fun exercise. And then maybe on Sunday or sometime, you know, this week, save that 3rd piece of paper for a really sunny day and compare the two. And then that way you'll be really excited to go, oh, I gotta go get that pack of.
Make sure you put the paper back that you're not using back into the black bag, because again, the more it's exposed to light, the less it's gonna work.
So after you rinse it out, either in like this casserole dish or a carousel dish, as you said. You did, they're funny. A paper towel or directly onto the cookie drying rack or bread drying rack right there. That's perfect. And then just let that dry. And it is paper. And so sometimes it gets a little crinkly, and it's perfectly fine to iron it. You can take out an iron and
on a low heat.
On a low heat. Maybe another piece of paper on top of it. Ask your, get some help from your parents or somebody that could help you with the iron, but you can flatten it out. And as with paper, like we've been doing, you've been seeing, well, where's the one? We'll show it. Come back up from our demo area. We can cut them. You can put that into your scrapbook. You could make a wonderful thank you card. Maybe send it to somebody, thank you for that wonderful birthday present or something, or congratulations for graduating. That's around this time. And then Mary has been wonderfully, I hope we can see that there, sewing into it. See, here's the back of it, kind of looking at the artistic process, sewing into it and kind of highlighting the very things that she did. Those were straws that she was putting onto the cyanotype and then sewing over it and making, I think that they look like snowflakes. So treat it like paper once it's done. So that's the process. It is first figuring out what you would like to do. Once you have a nice idea, you grab that paper out and you merge your design right along with it. Always remember, it should be about 5 to 10 minutes, but the longer you do in sunlight or with a garden supply store or UV light, the darker and the richer that blue will be. Wash it.
I wouldn't do more than like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
you don't want to leave it out there forever.
Maybe give it a try. Wash it under either running water or in some type of bowl or casserole bowl. Wash your hands when you're done, just as double sure, and then dry it out as if it was any kind of it's a wet piece of paper somewhere in your kitchen, and then you can also flatten it in between books or with an iron, and then keep it as it is or turn it into anything that you want.
All right, so we hope you have fun, and thanks for tuning in.
We have time, if anybody...
Oh, Q&A, right?
No
Q&A.
oh.
Okay. So thanks we hope you have fun with your cyanotype kits and with the process.
Thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed this project. We'll see you next month.
Bye-bye, thanks for...
Bye.
You're welcome.